Hello dear students, how are you all doing? I hope you all are doing very fine. I am Priyaranjan Kumar, one of the member of biology faculty of your own CJAN platform. Okay, and we will be first starting with a very important topic of NEET, and we will starting with human physiology. And that too, in human physiology we will starting with the very first and basic part, that is your human digestive system. Okay, so in this video we will have just preview of what is basically a human digestive system, their components, the basically your structure, your classification, and in the later part of videos we will discuss in detail that how is digestive system works, and how all the components or parts of the digestive system they facilitate together and they carry out the process of digestion smoothly. Okay, so first of all let me give you a ideal definition of digestion. I guess this is topic that we have studied little bit in our previous classes, previous we can say grades in 10th, 9th or whatsoever, but here we are present to talk in detail. So I guess we need to have a perfect definition to define what is a digestion. Okay, so basically your digestion, it is nothing but it is a combination of your both mechanical and biochemical methods. Okay, and it carries out the conversion of complex food substances into simple and absorbable forms. Okay, so basically what is the main purpose of digestion? The main purpose of digestion is basically all the complex substances that we intake as food. Those complex substances are broken down into simple forms that can be absorbed by our body, so that we can our body can absorb the nutrients, absorb the proteins, vitamins, all that we take, etc, all that we take from the food. Okay, so this is basically the purpose and work and the reason of digestion. Okay, so as you can see here on my screen, we have an elaborated structure of human digestive system. I know you might all be wondering, oh, this is such a complicated diagram, what is this, what this diagram all represent? Okay, never mind, I will make it easy for you. So here you can see the human digestive system, it basically starts with an oral cavity. Okay, you can see here on my cursor, it basically starts with an oral cavity, and you can see two glands situated adjacent to it. This is a parotid. Okay, and there's a submaxillary and sublingual glands. Okay, so basically your parotid gland here, these two glands, they are part of buccopharyngeal cavity. We will learn later in detail. Okay, so once the digestive system starts from inside the mouth, it then extends to pharynx, and then you can see we have this large canal, this oesophagus. Okay, and this oesophagus, it further terminates into this J shaped. As you can see, this structure typically comes out to be as a J shaped. Okay, so we can say that stomach typically represents the form of a J shaped structure, and from here stomach, it gets into In later we will also learn in the stomach one thing. I need to one thing important that I need to add here, that we will learn in later that all the components of the stomach, all the important juices, or all the important enzymes, or every important component that the stomach possesses, and how it facilitates further in the process of digestion. Okay, so on moving further, you can see pancreas. Okay, this is also a very important part that plays a vital role in digestion. Okay, so on moving further, we have this small intestine. As you can see, this is the part, duodenum. This is the labeled part, and duodenum, from where this small intestine originates. Okay, so on further moving forward, we can see a jejunum here. You can see a coiled structure. Okay, this is jejunum, and this jejunum, it further terminates into here an ileum. Okay, so if we talk about the length of duodenum, it is typically size of 25 centimeter. Okay, I want all of you students to focus here, because of one question that can arise from here, that they can ask usually your length of duodenum, jejunum and ileum. Okay, so what they might ask that what is the largest part of your small intestine. Okay, so we can say largest part of small intestine is your ileum, and that typically turns out to be a length of 2 meter. Okay, and then the smaller to the ileum, we have jejunum, and that is a sort of length of 1 meter, and the smallest part of the small intestine, you can say, is duodenum, and it measures to 25 centimeter. Okay, so when we are done with the small intestine, you can see we have here the origination of large intestine, and that is cecum. Okay, before we start cecum, you can see this this is a type of vermiform appendix. Okay, so in humans, this vermiform appendix is considered to be a vestigial organ. Okay, that vestigial organ, you can say, that has no main role, that plays a no main role in our body, but in the course of evolutionary, it has lost its function. It has lost its function, but still it is prevalent in our body, since our ancestors used to have. Okay, so this basically a vermiform appendix. It acts as a vestigial organ. Okay, so now coming to large intestine, we can see this is a cecum. Okay, so this cecum, it further starts with the, you can see here, part of your next part, colon, and colon, it further typically divides into 3 parts. Okay, you can say a colon basically has 3 parts, and you can have this part, this ascending part is termed as ascending colon, this part. Okay, this part where I am moving my cursor. Okay, and on the later part, you can say this is basically your transverse part. Okay, this is basically your transverse part, and this is descending as you're moving downwards, so it would be termed as descending, and this is termed as your descending colon. Okay, so, and here descending colon here ends to rectum. Okay, So what you can basically have a preview of large intestine. That large intestine, it basically consists of three important parts. You can say cecum, colon and rectum. And when we are talking about colon, we will have further subtypes, that is your ascending, transverse and your descending. Okay, so on moving further, here is the terminating part, anus. Okay, so let's just move to next slide, and let's have a clear classification of digestive system in just short. Okay, so as you can see, alimentary canal, there are two parts of digestive system. One is associated with alimentary canal, another is your associated glands. So in alimentary canal we have nothing but all the portions, all the structures that starts from mouth and that terminates to anus, they will all comprise your part of alimentary canal, as we have already discussed just right now. Mouth, oral cavity, pharynx, oesophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine and anus. Okay, and we have further some associated glands. You can say salivary glands, and it is very important. Why it is very important, we will get to know in later part of this video. Liver, pancreas. So these three glands, these three associated glands, they are also very important, and they play a very vital role in your to facilitate the easy carrying out of your digestion. Okay, so now we are talking about your mouth and buccopharyngeal cavity. As you can see this portion. Okay, so mouth is nothing but it is a horizontal transverse slit. Okay, slit is nothing but a portion between two that forms an opening. Okay, so as you can see, mouth, it is a horizontal transverse slit, and it acts like an aperture. Okay, and it is surrounded by here upper lips and now here lower lips, and this is attached to a specific muscle. Okay, a specific muscle is associated with lips, and it is termed as orbicularis oris. We will learn this too in detail, but in context of NEET, it is not very relevant to you, so I won't go in very deep. Okay, so just you need to, for sort of info, you can have an idea of this orbicularis oris. So on moving further, mouth further opens into buccopharyngeal cavity, and the cavity, it is further divided, you can say, into two zones. Okay, main is your buccal vestibule, as we are seeing right now, and in the second slide we will see your oral cavity. Okay, so here you can see in this portion we have nasal cavity. This is your main oral cavity. This is the jaw, portion of the jaw. This is where your tongue lies, and it is basically attached to your roof of oral cavity, and it is termed as frenulum. Here we have epiglottis, here we have esophagus, here we have larynx. As these parts we have discussed right now, and we will be exploring in detail too. And further, these two glands we discuss, associated glands, salivary glands, and this is the teeth, and this portion is just present below here, the cheek. Okay, this portion parotid, your submaxibular, and your sublingual and submandibular. Okay, so let's just move further. So here in the next slide you can see a part of anterior view of palate. Okay, so this is basically your anterior view of the palate, and on the first you can see a hard palate. So in human, The hard palate, it is basically made up of maxilla and palatine bones. Okay, so hard palate is made up of nothing but this is basically your hard palate. This is the frontal part. This frontal part basically contributes to hard palate, and this portion basically it forms your soft palate. Okay, so a hard palate, one thing you need to remember that can come in the again in the context of NEET. You can remember that this hard palate, it is made up of nothing but maxilla and a palatine bone in human. Okay, and on moving further, if we see this ventral surface of the hard palate, if we can see some ventral portion, this ventral portion, we can see some small type of projections or ridges. Okay, and that we termed as palatine rugae. Okay, so that we termed as palatine rugae. Okay, and we have other form, and that is termed as soft palate. This part you can see it is soft palate, and this soft palate is situated in the pharynx. Okay, this soft palate, you can see that it is starting from the originating part of the pharynx. Okay, basically it terminates into pharynx. So, and in upper part of pharynx, let's have this view. In upper part of pharynx, there's two part. One is nasopharynx, that is this part you can see basically nasopharynx, and lower part of the pharynx is called oropharynx. Oropharynx basically it comes under the portion of oral cavity. Okay, pharynx, as pharynx says, it is basically acts as a common path. Okay, I hope you all are getting my point. This pharynx, it basically forms a common path for both food and your air. Okay, air and food, it forms a basically a, you can say, a common path. Okay, so on moving further, we are done with palate, and now let's have a look of structure of human tongue. Okay, so as I told earlier, this human tongue, it is attached to floor of oral cavity. It is attached to oral cavity by frenulum. Okay, and anterior part, this anterior part basically it is free, while this posterior part, this anterior part you can see this is free, and while the posterior part, it is basically connected to hyoid bone. Okay, I know you all will be wondering what sir just has said, hyoid bone. Okay, you don't need to worry about, we will cover this in detail when we will further learn about human skeleton and types of bones in later part. But for just now, let me give you a little bit short idea about hyoid bone. A hyoid bone is nothing but it is a horseshoe shaped like structure, and it is present to your midline portion of the neck. Okay, between the chin and thyroid cartilage. Okay, so basically in this video, if we try to see in this somewhat between here, okay, this portion, as you can see my cursor, so somewhat here hyoid bone is present. Okay, so we need not to go in depth for that very much. So on further moving forward, you can see several forms of papillae. Okay, there are several forms of papillae, and as you can see in the dorsal part and the dorsal part of the tongue, there are two unequal parts. One you can see is a V shaped called sulcus terminalis. Okay, there's a V shape. This structure you can say it is nothing but a sulcus terminalis. Okay, now As we said, papilla, there are three types of functional papilla. Okay, these papilla, they act in nothing but they help in act as, you can say, taste receptors, or they form the taste buds basically. Okay, and another term you can say for use for taste receptors is gustatory. Gustatory, GUSTATORY. So whenever somewhere in biology you hear gustatory, one thing that should quickly strike in your mind is that somewhere it is related to taste. Okay, so on moving forward, as we discussed, there are three types of papillae. Okay, or you can say taste bud receptors. One, you can say fungiform papillae. Okay, as you can see in the video, one you can say it is a fungiform papillae. A second one, it is a filiform type. Okay, and then we have a circumvallate papillae. Okay, this you can see a circumlingual papillae. Okay, so first let's get start with fungiform papillae. So how can you basically identify a fungiform papillae? Okay, you need to do nothing but you need to observe your own tongue. Okay, so when you roll out your tongue, you can see there's some sort of pink colored small structure, and that is somewhat spherical in shape. Okay, it is found, you can say its composition is basically found on the entire surface of the tongue, but predominantly you can find it in this anterior portion. Okay, this anterior portion you can find it basically, and it provides the pink color. Basically the pink color of the tongue is due to fungiform papillae. Okay, so on moving further, we can talk about filiform papillae. Why it is called as filiform papillae? Basically it gives appearance of a shape like conical, so it you can also say it is called as conical papillae too. So unlikely this fungiform, they are somewhat white colored. Okay, so one of the major criteria, if someone says that how you can define a fungiform and filiform, you can say a fungiform is basically gives pink color to your tongue, and filiform is basically white in color, and it is of conical shape, while in fungiform it is of spherical shape. Now, one very important thing that must kept in mind in the context of NEET again, and I'm reminding you all your students again and again, that this filiform, it contains no taste buds. There are no taste buds present in your filiform papillae. Okay, so this is very important and you need to keep that in mind. Now, on moving further, this you can see a circumlingual papillae. Okay, so circumlingual papillae, it is basically the largest. It is basically largest, and you can say it is the least existed papillae. Okay, so they are also you can say large. You can see these spherical shaped papillae similar to that of fungiform, but they usually fungiform are quite smaller spherical shape, but as you can see these predominantly a larger spherical shape. Okay, and this is found near circum terminalis. This you can see it is a sulcus terminalis, or you can say sulcum terminalis also, and this is basically found where it is found in dorsal surface of the tongue, this part, this dorsal circum portion of the tongue, and this is the frontal part which you can see this is the apex, and this whole structure from circumlingual papillae to filiform, it forms your body of the tongue, and At the posterior part, you can see this is the epiglottis, as we had discussed earlier. This portion, so this portion basically where this tongue terminates. Okay, here. So students, we are done with the tongue, we are done with the palate, we are done with the mouth, buccopharyngeal cavity, and we already had a wide classification of this digestive system. So in the later part of the video, we will cover your teeth and all those orientations of the teeth, the human dentition. Then we will cover your digestive system, part digestive system in detail, esophagus, stomach and all that in detail, glands associated with it. Okay, in later part of the video. So I hope you all got my point. I hope you understood this topic very well, and if you have any doubts, then do let me know in the comments, and I will try to sort all those doubts in the later part of the video. So till then, thank you and goodbye and happy learning.